So the big question is this: how do most agents who struggle to get the information that most successful agents hoard to themselves grow and prosper without this information? That's the big question, and this video cast is the answer. Welcome to Real Estate Rockstars. I'm your host, Pat Hyben. Okay, Rockstar agents, I have a great guest today. Got Mr. Raj Bhaskar on the line, and Raj specializes, among many things, in helping real estate agents save money on taxes, helping real estate agents stay out of the IRS offices and stay focused on making money by helping them with a very important part of their business, which is tracking, keeping things together. He is the founder and creator of Hurdler. You may have heard of it. Keller Williams has picked it up as an integrated model into their tracking systems. And he actually went to the Realogy Tech Innovations Summit, or whatever you call it. I'll let him explain it, and won first place. So I've been trying to get him on the show, and luckily he came on about 2 years ago, and I'm glad to have him back today. So Raj, welcome back to Real Estate Rockstars.
Thanks for having me back, Pat. Happy to be here.
Hey Raj, why don't you tell everybody a little bit about you and Hurdler so we can get to know you better?
Sure, sounds good. Raj Bhaskar, co-founder and CEO of Hurdler, currently a team of 15. We founded Hurdler to help any independent professional manage their business better, primarily from their mobile phone. So we started off focusing on people that are out and about, running around, trying to make things happen. We've since added desktop solutions for folks that aren't running around all the time. But main thing is we saw this growth in the market of more and more people just taking charge of their income and their work. Not entering the traditional workforce. And there really wasn't anything out there that could help them with the right numbers. How much do you want to make in the next 12 months? What are your goals? What are your key metrics for your business? Can we help you set that up quickly and then track against that as time goes on, so you do well in that first year? Most businesses fail in the first year, and we want to turn that number upside down.
Yeah, absolutely. So why don't you talk to us about your gold medal there? Can you tell us what that was like, what the event was like, how hard that was?
Sure. First off, we're very fortunate to win the Realogy Forward Innovation event. I had the opportunity to sit down with Sherry Chris, the CEO of Better Homes and Garden Real Estate, about a year ago. It was at Inman Connect in New York City. And we chatted for a little bit, and we kept in touch. And a few months later, she had encouraged me to apply for this event. She thought it'd be a good fit for what they're up to. I talked with a couple of other folks that I'd known from Realogy in different departments, and they also encouraged us to apply. So we applied. I think it's a 100-word application was the gist of the application, and I think they do their own due diligence. And I remember the day that we got in, I think they said they selected 15 companies out of 100 that applied. We were very happy in the office. For us, that was the win, because the event's attended by a couple hundred plus of top Realogy executives across all their franchise brands, top broker owners, top agents, and other folks. And so that was great for us, because we'd have the opportunity to present for 5 minutes in front of all those folks. So that exposure was something we were really interested in. Fast forward to the actual event in September. They did a dry run in New York City. It was 5 minutes. The format of the event is 5-minute pitch followed by 5 minutes of Q&A by all the judges. Went up there with my co-founder, and we gave the demo. While we were giving the demo, the company that went before us had turned the volume on the phone. It was being used for the demo. And it was a chat app, and every time a chat was coming in, it was beeping. And we couldn't figure out where the sound was coming from, so I just kept on presenting while this beeping was going on. Eventually, halfway through, I think it was discovered that that's what happened, and the sound went away. Finished up the.
So wait a minute. So someone
minutes.
else's phone in the audience, or someone else who had presented before you, said, "Oh, let me check out this hurdler thing." Downloaded it and was dorking around with it, and it started beeping on their phone, and it sounded like it was coming from you guys.
No, actually what happened is we had to use the equipment at the event. We could not use our own equipment. And that included the mobile phone. So everybody who was demonstrating a mobile app had to use that same phone. And so the prior company was a chat app. And so their chat app was blowing up while we were presenting. And we didn't know where the sound was coming from because it was at a Microsoft Technology Center. No, actually, I was just, I thought so it was at a Microsoft Technology Center. So the guys in the back, all the tech guys, looked like they were trying to figure it out. I assumed they were going to figure it out and had nothing to do with us. So I wasn't afraid. It was just more distracting than anything else because every time I was talking, a beep would come right in the middle. I did actually pause for, I think, 20 seconds, 30 seconds while they figured it out and made the sound go away. And I still wrapped it up in 4 minutes flat. Sherry Chris was one of the co-hosts, and she pointed that out. So I kept it very tight, which I think is important in this, this day and age. I mean, frankly, even 2 minutes is a lot. When you're talking with someone at a party, you got to engage them pretty early on in general.
Yeah. So were the other 15?
That's a lot of time.
The other 15 contestants, they were all like apps, let's say, or what were they? Like, I know they all have to be real estate tech related. Like what? So like what? How would you describe them?
Sure. Different ends of the spectrum. On one end, you could have open house technology or online listing technology. So virtual reality type tours, virtual tours of a listing. So that's on one end, like the really flashy stuff that gets a lot of oohs and ahs from the audience. And then on the other end would be like hurdler, where it's not necessarily sexy, but it's definitely important and needed because you need to know your numbers. Like, you're not going to last in the business if you're not profitable. You need to run a profitable business, and your business is your income. And so, I don't know. I think, there's always a bit of luck involved, and we certainly did our homework, but stars were aligned. I think there's a need for profitability in the industry, and we got lucky.
Well, I'm sure, everything in life, so there's some luck, but you put a lot of hard work and a lot of money and a lot of focus and a lot of time into this. And so, you definitely got something there. So, and then since then you've on your website, I know you work with 100, 2,500 different plus or 15,000 different credit cards and many other things that integrate with it. But let's talk about tracking, because that's your life, right? What are the most important things that aren't like cliches, like mileage and stuff like that, that real estate agents should be tracking that they probably aren't?
I think the number one number that an agent should be tracking at all times is their income after everything gets taken out. So that's their profit. Their profit and their income are one and the same, but I'll redefine the traditional definition of profit to mean profit after taxes, after expenses, after everything is taken out. What do you get to keep at the end of the day? That's what you get to use to live your life. I think that's the most important number. And I think from there are a bunch of different numbers that go into that. But I think that's the number that everybody needs to know.
I want you to think about the word toolbox. What is a toolbox? A toolbox is a box full of tools that you use to build something great. At Real Estate Rockstars, we've created our own free toolbox. So everybody that comes on the show as a guest brings a tool with them, and we plow them all into this toolbox, and we give it away for our viewing audience to basically use as they wish. Everything we put in there is an actionable item that can be downloaded, can be printed, can be used immediately. And we got things like scripts and dialogues, checklists for teams, checklists to keep agents accountable, referral forms that are filled out at settlement to get referrals by your buyers and sellers. Everything you could think of that you could use on a regular basis about real estate is included in this toolbox. And it's helping agents worldwide sell more houses and make their jobs a lot easier and processes much more efficient. And the thing is, it's absolutely free. All you got to do is go to hibandigital.com/toolbox or text the word toolbox to 444-999. That's toolbox 444-999. Do it now. I love that because, most people don't find that out until ever. Let's just be honest. And the ones that do find it, out wait a whole year or more before they figure that out. So here you're saying, hey, you should figure that out every transaction.
Absolutely. I think you should know it in real time as much as you can, as close to real time as possible, because when you're running a business, all those numbers affect the decisions you make. How much are you investing in lead generation, or are you bringing on new staff? Can you afford to do that? What if you don't even consider taxes, for example, and all of a sudden you're paying 20%, or you take a 20% cut, and maybe you thought you were making a lot more and you're spending so much more. Different numbers there. Interestingly, though, I think there are a lot of folks out there, we've seen this, that they don't actually set their goal of what they want that number to be. And so I think it actually starts, I think first you have to start with how much do you want to make over the next 12 months after all of those things are taken out. So you can actually create the plan to get there. And then you need to track that number along the way. Are you hitting that number? Are you going to get there? Because as you said, like, you don't want to find out at the end of the year, maybe you thought throughout the year that you're getting there, and then you find out at the end of the year that you're way off. Most agents are great at sales. They're not so great at math.
I agree with you 100%. And I also agree with you 100% that it's all about profit. I mean, this is America. You know what I mean? The whole idea here is to maximize profit. It's capitalism, right? There's so many agents out there, and I have them on my show, so I know that work like 100, 200 hours a week, if that's possible. And, at the end of the year, they got a tax lien, against their house because there's, federal income tax wasn't paid in full or whatever. And they, it seems as if to them that they're making money, which they are, but they're not making profit. Right. I have a friend of mine, Tim Road, who actually takes it to another level, which you probably could do on Hurdler, is that number that you want agents to aspire to, which I agree, is then you figure out your personal bills, right? What it costs to feed your kids and family and household stuff. And then what is left after that, and he calls it LTI, left to invest. So, he looks at that number at the end of every transaction. How much does he have LTI left to invest? Because he wants to be able to buy, several houses a year, commercial properties, whatever. So it's all about the LTI from an investment standpoint. So yeah, I mean,
I think that's great.
All right. So I love that. And so how hard is that to do? Like an agent driving down the road might be thinking, oh, that's too hard. How can I realistically look at every transaction and determine what my net is?
It's not that hard. There are certainly you can set it up in a spreadsheet and do it manually. Of course, our app automates a bit of that, but I still like to focus on the fundamentals because you should still understand how things are calculated before you start automating things. But it's pretty simple overall if you think about every listing as a business in itself. In the accounting world, they call it project-based accounting. You want to know what's the profit and loss for that particular project. If a company has 20 projects, what's the profit and loss for each project? And so if you look at a listing in the same way, what are your expenses tied to that particular listing? And expenses include your time as well. How much time are you putting into that listing? You can put your own value on your time, pick an hourly rate, and assign it to that. But track how much time are you putting into that? Are you putting in 20 hours, putting in 100 hours, versus what the commission is that you're going to get. So if you're getting a $50,000 commission, what profit margin are you really going for? Because you don't get to keep all 50K, right? Some percentage goes to tax. You're incurring some expenses, whether it's driving around or are you footing any of the lead gen, any of the advertising costs. A lot of agents, they have nice boutiques where they take care of some of the online advertising and they don't pass that on to the client. So those type of things you want to wrap in so you know what your actual profit is going to be on that listing. And if you start thinking in that way, you start making better decisions on optimizing your income.
Absolutely. I think some agents will, have massive revelations, right? Like a certain price range, listings and sales under X, I lose money on. And that may encourage them to not do those deals. Like what sort of revelations have agents had that have started tracking this number on every deal?
Yeah, so that's a great first one. And you'll see this across teams where the team leader can they'll set that threshold, and that's they pass those on to other team members, right? Because they're the top producer, and they don't want to waste their time, so to speak, on smaller deals. But they're getting, you don't need to throw those away because one of your colleagues' time may be less valuable until they move up. So I think that's one of the key ones. Another one, as crazy as this sounds, but you reference it. I mean, you've got folks that are getting tax liens on them. They're not accounting for taxes. So they think that they're making a whole lot more on each one than they are. And when you talk about your friend and his LTI calculation, it throws the whole thing off, right? Because they're not taking that into account, so they don't have anything left to invest. Those are two of the key ones. It's really, the gist of it is really, are you going after the right deals and spending your time and money in the right places? A lot of agents, especially newbies, they find this out too late in the game. And they're not running that proper business. You want to know this stuff early on so you set up the right plan for success. It still takes time, right? I mean, there aren't too many cases where someone became a rock star real estate agent right out of the gate. But you got to take the necessary steps to build up over, at least over a couple of years. And you want to have the fundamentals in place so you know your numbers. You got to know those numbers if you're going to grow those numbers.
Yeah, absolutely. I can see how the whole tax thing really throws people off because, I think agents automatically assume that if they spend it, it's tax deductible 100%. And the reality of it is if you take somebody out to lunch that you just bought a house from, guess what? If you spend $100, you can only write off $50, right? It's only deductible at 50%. Charities. Guess what? If you give, $1,000 a deal to a charity, I mean, that's great, that you're doing that. But at the end of the day, when you do your taxes, there's a cap on that, whatever it is, $5,000 or something, right? So the rest of it's not deductible. So, I think that it's very easy for agents to get lost in this whirlwind of, I'm going to just keep moving forward and do as much business as I can and make as much gross commissions as I can and not worry about the bottom line.
Yeah, it's interesting. I think that approach, I think it's okay early on with a big caveat. The big caveat would be as long as you're tracking the numbers along the way, so then you can learn what works best for you, right? So I think it's okay to start off taking any listing you can and learning all the different aspects, spray and pray, and make things happen, and then do a post-mortem where you look at all the numbers and say, okay, where should you focus if you can, because that's going to give you the most profit. So I think that's okay, but doing it without that is a recipe for disaster. You're going to burn out and end up with nothing in the end. And there are much smarter ways to do things, and it's really simple stuff. And I know it's challenging for many because it's not that interesting. So what you have to do is kind of brainwash yourself if you find it not interesting. Don't think of it as accounting. Think about it as making money. Think about it as increasing your profit. I mean, what isn't sexy about profit? Profit is one of the sexiest things on earth.
I want you to think about the word toolbox. What is a toolbox? A toolbox is a box full of tools that you use to build something great. At Real Estate Rockstars, we've created our own free toolbox. So everybody that comes on the show as a guest brings a tool with them, and we plow them all into this toolbox, and we give it away for our viewing audience to basically use as they wish. Everything we put in there is an actionable item that can be downloaded, can be printed, can be used immediately. And we got things like scripts and dialogues, checklists for teams, checklists to keep agents accountable, referral forms that are filled out at settlement to get referrals by your buyers and sellers. Everything you could think of that you could use on a regular basis about real estate is included in this toolbox. And it's helping agents worldwide sell more houses and make their jobs a lot easier and processes much more efficient. And the thing is, it's absolutely free. All you got to do is go to hibandigital.com/toolbox or text the word toolbox to 444-999. That's toolbox 444-999. Do it now. Yeah, I love that statement. Profit is one of the sexiest things on earth. I mean, and I think agents should be setting goals too. If you start tracking this and you look down and you're like, damn, I'm at 12% profit, which they don't want to admit. It's funny. One of the things that I'm known for in Real Estate Rockstars is every agent that's come on here, which has been over 500 agents now, is asked, what is your profit margin? And a lot of them know it exactly, but a lot of them don't, and they squirm. And I could tll that they're just making it up because it's embarrassing, right? I mean, at the end of the day, profit margin is an embarrassing thing if it's not huge, and nobody's in real estate is necessarily huge. Once 1 out of 200. So I think that if you look at it and you're looking in the mirror naked at what your naked profit margin is, and you're looking down and it's like 7% or 12%, and you're like, Pat Hyben would probably say that's not high enough. You could set goals. You could say, okay, my goal is I'm not going to do a deal unless I can get 20% or 25%, or I deserve, X percent, 15%. If you have a big team, 20 to 35%. If you have a small team with just you, 50 to 90%, so, whatever it is, set goals to increase it or increase profit in the year 2018 by, X percent. And you're not going to get there if you're not tracking it. You'll never get there if you don't track it on a per transaction basis.
Absolutely. And that's where you can set your margin, and, there's different ways where even if you take a lower transaction size, you can set the budgets accordingly, saying if you want to target 15% or 20% margin on a smaller size deal, then you have to put a cap on expenses for that deal. right? So you know your tax obligation, what it'll be from the commission, but also cap the expenses, and expenses should include the amount of time you're going to put in on that. And then that's where you can see if you can make that work. Can you do this deal? Can you bring success to your client, the buyer or the seller, while putting in that lower number of expenses and time? You know, can you make that happen where everybody wins? That's something you need to know the numbers to really see if you can work that model.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think this is brilliant. Okay, so, you know, everybody that comes on the show gives a free gift. Usually it's like something that we could download and put in a toolbox. Now, what you want to do is you want to give a 30-day free trial to Hurdler. I don't know how we would do that. You can provide me, maybe you can provide me with a link that they could click on?
Sure. Yeah, we can do that. Give you a special link. But I think we're also gonna, given the season, the big changes that are occurring to the tax code, I think we're gonna give your listeners a free real estate agent tax guide as well.
Oh yeah, that'll be awesome.
Go through the top deductions for them. I think it's this year in particular, this season. I think it's very important that everyone takes the time to go through that.
Let me. Hey, Allie, can you change the beginning of this? Give me 5 seconds, Raj.
Sure.
Okay, Raj. So as you know, everybody that comes on Real Estate Rockstars leaves with a free gift, and I know your free gift is has to do with the change of the seasons and a tax guide. Why don't you tell everybody what it is?
Sure. So especially this tax season, given all the recent big changes to the country's tax system. We're giving away a free real estate agent tax guide to all the Real Estate Rockstar listeners. It's going to cover your top tax deductions and other things you need to know now. And I'd encourage you, especially this season, to really read through that. You know, you may know some of the stuff, and it's good to reinforce it. I find that when I read books, I know some of the things already, but it reinforces that thinking. But you'll find some new things for sure. And I think that's very important. Frankly, I think all consumers should be following this stuff right now because there's big changes. And we want to know how you can benefit from that, because I think there's a way, especially real estate agents are benefiting. Self-employed folks, the changes made through pass-throughs, you know, at least in that area, they're getting quite a bit of benefit. So that'll positively affect your agent business. And then we'll also give you a free 30-day trial of our app, the premium version of our app, and we'll send you a special link for that as well. Whatever we can do to help, and that's what we want to do. That's
awesome, Raj. So what I'm going to do, guys, is I'm going to put all of this on hybendigital.com/Raj B. I'm going to make this real easy. RAJB. hybendigital.com/RAJB. I'm going to put the number 2 on there because Raj has been on once before. Raj B and the number 2. Also, I'm going to put a link to this tax guide, which I think everybody needs, in the agent toolbox, which is a ton of downloadable items that any agent can print out and use. Every guest that has been on you know, provide something, and I'm going to actually jump on this particular one and start using it right away. So I want to put that tax guide in the Hyben Digital Success Toolbox, or the Real Estate Rockstar Success Toolbox. You can get it on hybendigital.com/toolbox, or text the word toolbox to 444-999. Raj, this has been awesome, buddy. I really appreciate you coming on the show, and best of luck to you and Hurdler in the coming years, and hopefully I'll meet you face-to-face someday and we can break some bread.
That sounds great, Pat. I really appreciate you having me back on board.
Thank you for watching Real Estate Rockstars. Please give us a review wherever you're watching or wherever you're listening. We eat feedback for breakfast, and I don't care whether you give me a 1-star review or a 5-star review. I just want the review. I want to know what we're doing right and what we're doing wrong. Would love to improve things. Hey, and listen, please subscribe. The more subscribers we get and the more reviews we get, the better guests we'll get for you in the future. Feel free to reach out to me anywhere on social media. Just type in my name. I'm everywhere, and I look forward to meeting you in the digital world. Have a great day, and thanks again for listening to Real Estate Rockstars.